morning, everybody. I'm happy to be out on the Olympic Peninsula today, and I'm at the Dungeness National Wildlife Refuge. I'm here with Hiker T, and we're going to be doing a hike that I've been looking forward to for a long time. We're going to hike out Dungeness Spit all the way out to the Lighthouse. It's an 11-mile hike round trip, and one thing you have to consider on this trip is the tides. And today we're going to have a -2 tide around 1 o'clock, and so we're getting started this morning. It's around 8:30. The tide was a 7.5 for a high tide today, and so we're going to be kind of waiting for it to go down enough to around 4 feet, and then we're going to get started. They have the tide chart here posted for April to help you figure this out. We're here on the 21st, and the high tide was this morning, 521.75. Low tide will be at 102, -21, and then we have to keep in mind that the high tide's coming back in. It'll be a 7.9. Here's the map. We're at the bottom left at the arrow there. We're going to be walking in the green area on the outside or the left, all the way out to the top right. The red areas are closed to public. We're just getting started now, and we're going to walk through the forest here for about a half mile, and then we'll go down to the beach level. And T, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I had a really pleasant night's sleep in the campground, and I'm looking forward to this hike.
And what do you think we might see along the way?
I'm hoping to see seabirds, and yesterday we glimpsed a sea lion, and I would really like a longer glimpse.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't know when they're feeding, but we're going to be out here on the falling tide, and sometimes the oyster catchers feed on the falling tide, and
I don't know, we saw one of those yesterday too.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they are long orange beaks. Okay, so we'll be down at the beach in 10 minutes or so, and looks like it's probably going to be breezy, cloudy, not too hot, which will be nice. We're going to be exposed the whole way out to the lighthouse.
Hopefully no rain.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Getting our first view of the beach. We're looking down at our first views of the spit. This is the longest naturally formed spit in the United States. It's formed by longshore drift. And they estimate that it grows by 13 feet every year. Here's a brief explanation of the longshore drift. The waves that come in from the west and hit the shoreline, and it kind of makes a Z, pushes stuff up and then pulls it back out, works its way out to the spit. There's also two smaller spits, Klein Spit and Graveyard Spit. And the lighthouse is all the way up at the tip there.
It's interesting, the waves now are almost like constant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yesterday it was more like a slower roll and then a slower roll.
Mm-hmm. Here we are getting started around 9 o'clock. It was quite windy. The tide was low enough to give us a nice wide beach with plenty of compact sand for walking. Every once in a while, we would move up to the driftwood to look over into the bay. Quite often we would see birds flying over the spit. We would also see them finding perches on the driftwood. The tide goes out on both sides of the spit, dropping the water level in the bay. And as we were going along, we noticed that the birds along the shore were getting farther out. In the soft sand up by the driftwood, we noticed lots of different bird tracks. And one time T noticed this set of tracks. There are no dogs allowed out here, so she figured that this was river otter tracks. And here's a close-up of what they look like. And then she noticed this tail drag. When we reached the mile 3 marker, the tide was pretty low, and you can see that the beach is sloped and then there's a flat, rocky area. If you look along the horizon, you can faintly see the lighthouse off to the right. We saw 2 black oyster catchers fly in and then start foraging among the rocks. It looks like this gull was eating a crab. I was really happy to get this far, knowing that we were going to reach our destination. At the mile 4 marker, the spit angles to the right, and they call this section the elbow. You can see the lighthouse closer now, over the driftwood. We spotted 2 bald eagles, one on the pilings and one on the far sign. We've arrived at the lighthouse. The lighthouse has been in continuous use since 1857. Here's the historic keeper's residence, where volunteers stay for a week at a time, doing light maintenance and giving public tours. After we looked around, we went inside and had a tour and visited with the volunteers. We were very thankful to eat our lunch inside, out of the wind. There are 4 U.S. lighthouses along the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The new Dungeness light was initially 100 feet tall, later lowered to 63 feet. We climbed 74 narrow and winding steps up to the lantern room, where we could look out and see the surrounding area. I loved looking back and seeing how far we had come.
Before we left, we walked out the path to the bay, where we saw the bald eagle pair again. I wish we could have stayed longer, but it was time to hike back. It rained off and on, and we had a steady wind the whole hike back. We headed back just past the low tide mark, with plenty of beach and no need to hurry. The hike out took about 3 hours. We spent 1 hour there, then it took us about 3 hours to hike back. This was a great experience that I would love to do again. Maybe next time, in a little warmer weather. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.